Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Video Clips. First of all, thanks for all the fan mail for Schroeder. He really appreciates it from last week's video. And he seems to know when I'm at home doing something with Zoom. That's usually when he wants to be picked up and be in the video, whatever it is that I'm doing, because he did that a couple times over the weekend too. So I'm clearly back at the office. I don't have the cat here. For those of you who would like another appearance by Schroeder, we will work on that for next week. So just a couple of things to remind you of. It's early in the month of December. We can ship cookies any place in the United States. Beautiful vegan chocolate peanut butter cookies, $19.99 per dozen, including the freight. And to order those, you need to call our office at 614-841-7700 to order those cookies. You can't order them online. You actually need to talk to us, but we're open almost all the time, so it's not that hard to get a hold of us. Okay, so do call the office. For those of you who ordered COVID operation books, we are shipping them out right now. We've been ordering them as fast as we can. They come in, they come out, more come in, right? So if you ordered a book from us, it's on the way. And if you're interested in talking about careers in the type of healthcare that we're in, which is helping people make better decisions about their health and to change their diet and lifestyle habits, then send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. We have wonderful programs here to teach people who've never been in healthcare how to do what we do, and also how to teach healthcare professionals to reorient their careers, which a lot of you are interested in doing that right now, and I totally understand why. There will be announcements soon in terms of Make Americans Free Again. And remember, if you want to learn how to get organized in your area so you can file fun, cool lawsuits like we do in Ohio, send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. Sign up for one of my Thursday conference calls. I do one every Thursday at noon Eastern time. And for those of you who are members, I usually take time off in December. I'm not doing that much of it this year, so we can have a Q&A every week and continue ways to keep people engaged. Same thing with our support, anxiety and depression support groups. We're going to not take the usual time we take off and try to keep everybody connected who wants to be connected to us, all right? So on Fridays, I usually cover consequences, and this is one of the saddest things. I keep saying it's the saddest thing I've ever heard, and every week there's something else sad that I hear about. So this story comes out of Canada, and it deals with a woman in a nursing home. And of course, these types of facilities, nursing homes, memory care homes, different names for them, what they have done is to keep family and friends out in order to prevent the spread of COVID. And it's debatable if that's worked or not. A lot of the deaths in every country have been in these care homes, so it doesn't look like the strategy worked very well, but it seems like the collateral damage has been much worse than COVID might have been. So, and at least the woman I'm going to talk to you about, that's what she thought about all of this. So anyway, a report by the Canadian Institute for Health Information found that as of May of this year, 80% of the deaths have been people in long-term care facilities. So this preventing family and friends from coming in has been a colossal failure. And why it continues, well, it's just more proof, I guess, that this doesn't really have a whole lot to do with health. This particular article tells the story of this woman and basically says a lot of serious issues, collateral damage, has resulted from the complete contact with family and friends being completely eliminated. 90-year-old Nancy Russell is the subject of this broadcast, was described by her family as being an exceptionally social person, very spry. And she ended up choosing medically assisted death after she declined so much during lockdown that she didn't want to go through any more isolation. In other words, she'd rather be dead than alone in the nursing home. Now, what does that tell you about this policy? Being mobile was everything to my mom. Her daughter, Tori, told the news station. My mother was extremely curious, and she was interested in every person she met and every idea she came across. So she was constantly reading, going to different shows and talks, and frequently talking about people she met and their life stories. She was curious, she was open-minded. So for 90, she was exceptional. But the first wave of COVID-19 restrictions in March ended a lot of what she was used to doing. Her daily walks went away, library visits, all the activities that took place in the nursing home in Toronto where she lived. Her daughter said that they had plastic dividers in the dining rooms and supervised visits in the garden. She almost overnight went from a very active lifestyle to a very limited life, and early on actually had to be confined only to her room for 2 weeks. And during those 2 weeks, she couldn't exercise by walking to the library or doing her own shopping, so she would stand up and sit down again and again, counting the times, her daughter said. It was during that more restricted 2-week confinement that the family noticed that she was going downhill. She was just drooping, her daughter said. It was contact with people that was like food to her. It was like oxygen. She would just be tired all the time because she was understimulated. The first doctor who she applied to have medically assisted death said no. My mom told me he said to her, "You've got too much to live for." And I'm sure that that would have been true if she had been able to live her normal life, but confined to the nursing home with no contact with friends and family, she really didn't think she had anything to live for. In Canada, you don't need to have a fatal or terminal condition to apply for medically assisted death, but you must have a serious condition, be in an advanced stage of irreversible decline, be experiencing mental or physical suffering that cannot be relieved, and be at the point where your natural death has become reasonably foreseeable. And of course, the first time it wasn't, but by the second time she applied, her physical condition had degenerated to the place where she was actually starting to qualify, and that would probably not have been the case had she not been confined. Doctors approved her the second time around, and the reason she said she wanted to do it is she just would not go through another 2-week lockdown in her room. The daughter said she just truly did not believe that she wanted to try another of those 2-week confinements in her room. Dr. Samir Sinha, a geriatric specialist at Mount Sinai Hospital, commends the family for telling the mother's story. She says, quote, "I do appreciate that this family has come forward, especially when the balance of evidence out there actually says that these restrictions in too many circumstances are overly restrictive and actually causing unnecessary harm." And, you know, everybody's noticing this in family members. People are reporting it. I hear about it all the time. I've reported a lot of these cases in Friday episodes of video clips, and it's just despicable. The mother goes on, or the daughter goes on to say, when you stick someone alone and deprive them of the usual things that bring them interest or joy, that can be an incredibly isolating, lonely, depressing experience. And the doctor, the geriatric specialist says, and frankly, when you can't look forward to getting out of your room, to having meals or doing activities with others, or even to seeing your own families and loved ones, you can imagine for a person in the last few years of their life where these are the basic things that actually bring them joy and define what they would call their own quality of life. When you deprive a human being of these things, you can imagine that that can have a significant psychological consequence that can really give people no real will to live anymore. Some in the field of medically assisted death in Canada do report more seniors inquiring about assisted death, and that while many of them had said that they would do that when the time comes, it's really accelerating the schedules, and they're considering it early on. Adding to the complications is, and this is partially, they say it's a drop in staff, but I have heard from so many nursing home owners and also nursing home employees who have said that these places are not set up for staff to do everything. In fact, the staffing is contingent, is based on the fact that families and friends will be bringing treats and books and providing companionship and company and playing games with these people and that sort of thing. The staffing is not designed to be a replacement for family and friends for the residents. So, you know, the doctor goes on to say, frankly, we find that a lot of the restrictions that are being put in place right now actually violate the rights of the residents themselves, their families, their substitute decision makers. And what really pains me is when I hear people saying, I'd just rather die. That's the geriatric specialist I mentioned earlier. Other jurisdictions and countries like the Netherlands recognize that this is going on, and they did a pilot in the Netherlands, which allowed 1 visitor per resident in 26 nursing homes. Nothing bad happened, so they allowed all nursing homes to adopt that policy. And it's been recommended to do this in Canada, but doctors so far have not loosened the reins at all. Back to the geriatric doctor, she says, the fact that there can be such a degree of collateral damage by simply isolating people to this extent, this is why I and others have been long advocating for finding a better balance, balancing visitor restrictions, but also the safety and well-being of the residents. And I've said many times, all the people I've ever known in nursing homes, if the proposition had been made to them, listen, we can prevent you from getting the flu, which again, as I pointed out earlier, that has not happened. It's a promise unfulfilled. But the cost of doing that is that we're going to isolate you and not let your family and friends come to visit you. Or if they do, they have to sit 6 feet apart and wear a mask or talk to you through the window. I don't know anybody who would sign up for that. They certainly didn't volunteer to. And I agree with this doctor, their rights are being violated by not having been given the choice, at least give them the choice. So anyway, October 20th of this year, Nancy Russell died. And before she died, medically assisted suicide, she spent 8 days at the home of one of her children where family and friends were able to visit, and they played games and told stories. And by this point in time, while she was with her family in her final days, the facility that she had previously resided in had gone into full lockdown. And the daughter says, we would not have been able to visit her in her facility. She had to leave. And for a week, with all proper precautions, we visited. So the daughter says that her mother departed the world with her wits intact and her expansive curiosity tempered only by a willingness to let the mystery be. That's what the obituary said. Anyway, the daughter says that knowing it was her mother's choice, that made a difference to her. I thought that this was pretty amazing in this article. So far, there is little evidence of any family caregiver transmission of COVID-19 in long-term care homes. Another reason why families believe their right to visit their loved ones should be preserved. Again, if we were doing this based on evidence, well, we'd be doing a whole lot of things differently, wouldn't we? So that's about as sad as it gets. And I think it goes to how horrible what these people are doing to us and to others really is, that a person would say, I would rather be killed. I opt for medically assisted suicide before I would endure any more of this. And in fact, people who aren't in homes like this, they're opting for suicide. The suicide rate I know is up in Ohio and every place else. In fact, medical doctors have reported that in some counties where they practice, there are more suicides than deaths from COVID because people are ruined. And also here in Ohio, we're working as hard as we can to make things different, but it's estimated that we're soon going to have 500,000 more homeless people in the dead of winter. And I'm sure that that's not going to do much for people's quality of life, and will lead to more suicides and violence and everything else. And so, I think that, this is the type of conversation we maybe need to have with people who are still in favor of these policies, is how do you justify this? How do you do something to a 90-year-old that makes that 90-year-old say, you know what, I'd rather just they kill me than I go through more of this? Very sad, very despicable, motivates me to get up every day and do something about it. And you might have noticed when I'm talking about these stories, I don't cry very much anymore. And it's not because I don't think it's sad. It's because I'm so damn mad about it all. That's it. It's just kind of shifted over from being devastated. I am on a certain level, but I'm furious also. And maybe furious is a good way to be, because furious is what drives me now, not furious at the world, just the people who do this, to make this right. So anyway, that's all for today and all for the week. Pass this on, please, to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it. Remember, the Forbidden News comes out in the newsletter on Monday. You must be a subscriber to get it. And the forbidden video is posted at wellnessforumhealth.com. We don't send that one to you. And my email address is pampopper@msn.com. So if you want to email me about any of the cool stuff we do here or about getting involved with Make Americans Free Again, please do so. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back to you next week with more news.